Here to answer your questions about career development, career happiness, and the job search. So today I'm not going to be answering just one. I had a few quick questions come in that I thought would be great to address. So I think that would be helpful. I am testing out some new sort of equipment. So I'm just checking it out because in the new year, we have that challenge coming up that everyone voted for. So next week I'll be filming some videos for it so that they can be sent out as part of the challenge. So I got some new equipment, a light and a microphone, just to see if that helps improve things, improve the quality of the videos that get sent out. So I'm sort of testing them out today. Anything else that's new in my neck of the woods? Well, it's December. It's still pretty busy on my end. Like I mentioned yesterday in a sort of a status update, I have one marketing package documents spot available for next week. So if you want to have your resume, cover letter, and or LinkedIn written, let me know and we can set that up. And then I have, I think, 2 interviewing and or networking sessions. I've been doing a bunch of the interviewing ones lately and I've been loving it. So if you feel that you have any concerns over phone interviews, interviews in general, if you get super nervous, or you can't stop yourself from talking, or you've thought they've gone great but they haven't, reach out. Maybe it can help you turn things around, because the interview is necessary to get that offer. That otherwise, I'm just working on a lot of the content for the upcoming challenge in January. So the challenge will essentially be about figuring out your career, finding your way to career happiness. Each day will be a new topic in terms of how to get there. So if there's anything that you want to know, anything that you really want to make sure I talk about, any questions surrounding it, let me know now so that I can include that as part of the content. Okay, so now let's get to some of the questions. The first one, I get this one a lot. And I had about 4 or 5 individuals sort of reach out with this question in the past 2 weeks. And especially with the holiday season coming out, I shared a post on the holiday conversations that you're going to have now that the holidays are coming up, which means a lot of family time. And sometimes with family, we get judgment, we get questions, all around we get into conversations that we feel a little awkward in. So how to handle that. So one of those questions was, what do I say when I've been laid off? And this can be applied in an interview or a holiday conversation. And my suggestion is to keep it simple, silly, sort of the kiss. I know there's a tendency to maybe be too detailed, maybe go on and ramble just a little bit too much, overcompensate because you feel that it's saying something negative about you. And the thing is, I've heard this stat a few times that we will probably be laid off about 6 times in our career. And I have definitely spoken to people who have been laid off that much. We're talking like a 25, 30-year career. So, and when you think about yourself, think about your friends, think about the people you've worked with, I'm sure you can come up with at least one person who's been laid off. So this being laid off is not something to be ashamed of. It's something that pretty much everyone will go through. And if they haven't gone through it themselves, they know people who've gone through it. So they're sympathetic to it. And they know that it's not a slight against you. Because even if you feel that it is, there is so much that goes into a restructuring decision that it truly isn't about you, no matter how personal that it feels. So, for example, things that they look at is, where are you in terms of the skill set? Where are you in terms of the skill set that they need tomorrow? Maybe someone else has those skills already that you just haven't had a chance to develop. It's not personal. Maybe you're at the top of the salary range. So perhaps it's a cost-cutting measure that has nothing to do with you and everything to do with your paycheck. Again, not personal. So when you're telling people, you need to not be personal about it. You need to not go into details about maybe something with your manager or comparing yourself to your team members. No, simply, I was laid off. Or, unfortunately, my organization went through a reorganization or went through a restructuring, and I was laid off as a result of that. Period. End of story. The only time you would want to go further is if you happen to have survived multiple rounds. So it is common for a large organization to say have 3 rounds of layoffs or more. And at that point, if you were in the third round, then you could say that. I was lucky enough to survive 2 rounds of layoffs, but unfortunately during the third round, I was impacted. The other things to like quantify a layoff, and again, it's not a big deal, but if you say I was one of 400, where they laid off 10% of the workforce, things to show that it wasn't just you, okay? And when you're talking with family about it, it's just laid off. It sucks. It sucks, but that's it, okay? And in those holiday conversations, if there's any judgment or judgment on how you should be spending your job search time, thank them for their input. Move on. Change the conversation, or leave. Okay. Don't make it's usually parents or grandparents. They can be the worst, or could be that aunt who means well, but just not very nice about it all, is just ignoring in some way. I always like to lead with kindness. So you turn it around by complimenting them, get them talking about themselves. Through a compliment. Oh my gosh, these cookies, they're incredible. Oh, thank you so much for hosting everyone. Just turn it around, get the conversation off of you so that you don't feel, because the last thing I want you to feel is any form of guilt or negative. I like to, very much support the positive attitude. Don't want you to dip into any sort of negative attitude. So that's how to talk about being laid off and how to talk about your job search during the holidays with family, but also how to discuss it, especially being laid off at an interview with a potential employer. Second question, I know in the career networking group for the Halton region that a lot of us desire to work close to home. And it's a big challenge to find jobs close to home, especially when you're not in downtown Toronto where most of the jobs are. So there are some things to do beyond waiting for job postings. I'm gonna maybe surprise you and say networking, being sarcastic there, but networking, you need to network your way into those local positions. And so one thing to do would be to write a list of all of the employers, say in Burlington, Milton, Oshawa, it's any small suburb of any city where you live, and if that's where it is to find the job close to home. Write down a list of all the employers. Maybe use LinkedIn to see if they have anyone in positions that you have been in, to see if they would even hire you because maybe they don't even have that role. And then start reaching out to those people. To find out more about the company and get an introduction to the hiring manager so that when a position does come up, you are like top of mind for it. And they may also know other people. That's the whole, like, you would then jump into your full networking strategy. But creating that list of local employers, finding out who works there, and starting to build relationships with them. I know that's worked for me in the past, and I know that's worked for others. And leaning on, if you know of anyone that works locally in a company, lean on them, because they may be someone who can introduce you to the powers that be. Now, if you are in a role like human resources or finance, and there is no person, like say there's no HR professional at a company, and they're at about that 50 to 200 employee mark, you may need to, or you may be able to, market yourself in as someone who could help the company be better. So also looking at those sort of opportunities as well. And if Googling is not finding you a robust name of companies, driving around, going for a drive down like those industrial roads in Burlington, like in Harvester or North Service or South Service, where a lot of companies tend to be, going into, say you go into one of the big industrial parks, and even going into some of the buildings and writing down the names of all the companies that work there or that are there, so that you can start creating a strategy of building the relationships within there so that you can find those close to home jobs. Next question. This I heard from about 2 people. In the last week, and I hear about it all the time, should I tell my boss that I'm looking for a new job? No. I think I've even answered this question in an earlier Q&A. Please do not tell them. What if you don't find another job? And then they question your loyalty. What if a year later a restructuring is happening? Well, who do you think is going to be on that top of the list? Talking about layoffs, and then talking about personal. And it still wouldn't be personal. But of course they're going to lay off someone because it sucks to choose. Like, honestly, as a manager, having to pick which ones of your team you have to restructure out, it sucks for them. Like, it sucks more for you because you got laid off. Like, I definitely get that. But it still sucks for them. And they want to make it as easy as possible. That's why it's not personal. That's why it's always tangible, hard facts. One of those hard facts could be, well, I know that they were looking for a job, so I don't know how interested they are in working here in the long term. So they probably won't be too upset if I lay them off. So a big reason why not to tell your boss that you are looking. If you're having difficulty managing interviews around your work schedule, trying to do them over lunch, seeing if there's a potential to meet before or after work, and then at the end of the day, taking sick days to go to appointments or vacation days, which, like, not fun, but you're looking for a job. You need to interview for it, so finding ways that you can still do it without alerting anyone. I don't even really recommend telling a lot of coworkers. If you have a really close friend there, then that's a different story. But I think the less people who know, the better. Last question, another interview type question. And I got this last week, and I did answer this individual, but I thought it would be valuable for me to address it here. Can I reschedule an interview if I'm sick? I also thought it was timely because we're entering that time. Yes, you can definitely reschedule. A recruiter or hiring manager is not going to look down upon you or question your commitment or loyalty or interest in the position. They're going to be thankful that you are not getting them sick. Okay? And even if it's a bad cold, which I know a lot of times we just power through things. But the thing is, when you have a bad cold, it's really hard for you to build chemistry with someone because you're already dulled and fatigued. So even just answering and like telling your stories will take up a lot of energy that you won't be using to build that relationship. And even think about yourself when someone who's really sick approaches you. Like you kind of like your first instinct is to step back, to like put that wall up. So even they won't be as engaged to build a relationship. So I definitely recommend that you email them as soon as possible to give them as much notice and just say, I am terribly sorry. I've caught a bad bug and I was wondering if it was okay if we rescheduled the interview. Now, and timing is another key thing. Don't say for the next day or the next couple of days. Give yourself at least 3 days to try and fully recover so that you can go in and just wow them. Okay, so the questions I answered today. How do I tell people that I got laid off? Keep it simple, silly. Don't go into a long story. I was laid off is enough. Even when you're telling your family in holiday conversations. Number 2, how to find a job closer to home. Network your way in. Write a list of potential employers, find out who works there that you can talk to, and start setting up conversations. Number 3, should I tell my boss that I am looking for a new job? The answer is no, you should not. And number 4, can I reschedule my interview if I am sick? Yes, please do. I would like to say thank you for coming out and listening to the Q&A session today or watching it at another time. If you have any questions that you want me to address for next week, please do let me know. And otherwise, I will see you next Thursday. And don't forget, if you want interview or networking training, I have 2 spots over the next 2 weeks. If you want a resume, cover letter, or LinkedIn, I have 1 spot next week. Reach out. Okay, take care. Bye.